talk, real talk. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk.
Welcome to Real Talk for Real Teens, the show where we uniquely combine the information teens need with the entertainment teens want.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk for Real Teens. My name is Kim Creighton. I am your host of this show, and we are continuing our with the reformatting and continuing to talk to people about those 21st century skills that are needed for you guys to be successful out beyond high school. And tonight I have on the show Konata, if you could, Konata Nicholson. So if you could introduce yourself to the audience, Konata.
Yes, this is Konata Nicholson, with co-founder of Hip Hop Gives Back.
Can you give some more of that? Tell us about yourself. Introduce what else. Who is Konata?
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. Yeah. Like I said, my name is Konata Nicholson. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. Been down here living in Atlanta for over 15 years now, so I'm definitely a part of the fabric of the Georgia scenery. Entrepreneur, lifelong learner, motivational speaker, DJ. I do a little bit of everything.
Okay. And so what is the skills you're going to be talking about today?
This evening I wanted to speak about creativity and critical thinking and how important those two lifelong skills are for progression. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Won't you give us your definition of those two things?
To me, creativity is at its basic core is just using your imagination to make things come to life, whether it be creating your ideas, turning them into money-making factors, or different ideas, using your creativity to affect other people's lives. Creativity is really just your imagination and finding different ways to improve on certain existing ideas or just formulating new ideas that people didn't know were there before. And critical thinking, I refer to it as thinking through the entire process of a situation, its ramifications, and included in that is putting yourselves in other people's shoes. You know, trying to understand all angles of a discussion or an argument or anything like that you may be having. You just use your critical thinking skills to come to a resolution, hopefully a positive resolution.
All right. So with both of those two things, and tell me why you thought you wanted to talk about those two things.
Well, in general, I feel, both of those skills and abilities is something we always have to improve on from a day-to-day basis to a year-to-year. There's always more you can learn. There's always different critical thinking skills that you can learn to help improve your life, whether it be your personal, financial, spiritual, just learning to think for yourself critically and coming up with solutions that way. It's always about training your mind and leading to new heights of understanding.
So tell me how. So give us some feedback, some background about Hip Hop Gives Back. Give us a feedback about you, because I know you're a DJ. So talk about that, and then we'll put that in the context of creativity and critical thinking, and how you've developed your skills with the things you have to do in that context.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Hip Hop Gives Back is a website and now a nonprofit foundation that we started back in 2008. What we do is we highlight the positive side of the hip-hop culture. We consider ourselves the home of the hip-hop humanitarians, because anytime anyone in the hip-hop community gives back or does anything positive, we highlight it on our website, hiphopgivesback.com. And in addition to that, we've also now launched our nonprofit foundation, where we have our own nonprofit programs that deal with mentoring, raising awareness, educating, and fundraising to assist other organizations with raising funds, as well as helping to fund our own programs as well. And actually, Hip Hop Gets Back is a perfect example of the creativity and the critical thinking skills, because when we first came up with the idea for it, we just saw the need of positive news being spread more widely to the masses. You know, as you hear so much negative news about hip-hop artists and this hip-hop community, period, that the positive information gets overwhelmed and pushed to the back burner, So using those creativity and critical thinking skills, that's how we came up with, we saw the need for this attention that needed to be shown and this light to be shed on the positive part of the hip-hop culture. So that's where Hip Hop Is Back was created. We saw the need for it and found out the best way we thought possible to get that news and information and also get back ourselves to the hip-hop community and to people who are just fans of hip-hop and may not consider themselves part of the hip-hop community.
Tell me why, and I want to get more into your process in a minute, but tell me what does a hip-hop mean? I mean, why do you care?
I care so much because I know the meaning, the true intention of hip-hop. I know why it was started and, you know, going back to the full elements of hip-hop. You know, hip-hop was started not just as a party culture, because that's definitely a big part of it, but it was also as a way to uplift and inspire the community and help others around them. It was a reinforcement of our own abilities. It was a form of expression that allowed people to eventually create, to get their own voices out and express themselves to an audience that kind of saw eye to eye where they were coming from and other like-minded individuals. So that's where the original idea of hip-hop came from. So from that, as we all know, it's progressed to a big money-making machine and created careers and provided different lifestyles for thousands, several thousands of people now.
And I guess my question, because a lot of people are hip-hop, you know, they like the culture, they consider themselves a part of the hip-hop culture. But I speak to, because this also gets to that creativity and that critical thinking, speak to really get down and speak to why that was a passion for you. I mean, what about hip-hop made you decide, hey, I love you and I want to do this? Because it's not like you're doing it for cancer or you're doing it for, you know, school reform or you're doing it for hip-hop culture. What does that mean?
Right. Well, hip-hop culture is basically the people. It's the voice of the people, as has been said by several different people. You know, it's so relatable, and it affects so many different people in different ways, from dealing with stressful and trying times in their lives to motivation to inspiring them to accomplish their dreams. It touches so many people in so many different ways. That's why I fell in love with hip-hop. I understood the power of it. And that's part of our plight right now. One of our missions now is to have more people understand the power of hip-hop and how it can basically change the world.
And that's why I wanted you to talk about that, and I'll probably continue probing that as we move along in the conversation, because most people, hip-hop is just music or just clothes. It's a what am I? It's not. I'm not going to say it's a fad. It's not. It's a culture, but it's not. It's like pop music. It's like it's not a way of life, and that's what I think the disconnect is, or not even take a disconnect. That's how the difference, what you see hip hop as opposed to what the average consumer of hip hop sees it. You see it as a way of life, as a lifestyle, as how I live my life, and that's why I love it, as opposed to the newest music or the newest clothing line or whatever. And that, just that distinction takes a level, because it's very different from how because you're talking about millions of people. That's a very big distinction between how you relate to hip-hop and how other people relate to hip-hop. And could you put that in the context of creativity and critical thinking?
I think one of the best ways to give an example of how hip-hop affects people, not just, I do see that definitely as a lifestyle. And to use an example of the effect hip-hop has had globally. Hip-hop music was a way for the Arab nation and their Arab uprising that took place a few years ago. They got their voices out and they inspired other people to come together and influence change through hip-hop music. There's not many other kinds of music that I could think of that's ever taken place in the past. a lot of new genres now, I don't think they'll ever reach the impact that hip hop has had just because of that. It's because of the words. It's because of the passion behind the words. It's because of the feeling behind the words. That's what caused people to want to change, to want to do better, to want better, a better life for their family and for themselves. And it's not many lifestyles, as they like to say, that could cause that kind of change in people.
All right, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, I want you to, because I think this is very important, because you're coming from I don't want to use the word unusual, but that's what's coming to my mind, but it's not unusual. It's just a very organic, very pure, that's the word I'm looking for, a very pure understanding of hip-hop. And I want you to expound on that some more and really tie that into how young people can use their critical thinking skills with an understanding of hip-hop as you know it, that can help them with critical thinking skills and creativity. So we'll be right back.
Follow us on Facebook at Real Talk for Real Teens and on Twitter at RTFRT Radio.
All right, so really speak to that, because I guess I'm just I don't want to say harping, but I'm really highlighting this because it's the fact that you have a different relationship with hip-hop. And it goes back to that, what was that movie with Sanaa Lathan and Shay Diggs? What was the name of it? For the Love of Hip-Hop? Was that the name of the movie?
I think you're talking about Brown Sugar, where they asked the important question, what do you call the hip-hop?
Yes.
Yeah.
So young people may have seen that movie, but to know someone who actually is loves hip-hop and is not, and sees it beyond the commercialization of hip-hop. So we've talked about that. Now talk about, by cultivating that understanding, or having that affinity for hip hop, how has creativity and critical thinking been impacted by that?
Well, it's basically like finding something. Hip hop is like finding something that speaks to you if you feel like it represents you at its basic core. I mean, there's a lot of aspects of it that a person may feel like doesn't apply to them, which I totally understand and get, especially these days. But something that shares your same voice for independence, for creativity, for creation, period, where you could have an idea, a painting, you could make music, you could use your words, your poetry to influence how people feel. Not only make yourself feel better, but make them feel better, make them want to go out and strive and do better as well. That's how a lot of people feel about hip-hop and the true meaning of what hip-hop is supposed to be. So if that doesn't clearly, identify why creativity is such a big portion of it. Hip-hop is creativity, from the graffiti artist to the traditional painting artist. Hip-hop just inspires people. Hip-hop is inspiring chefs. Hip-hop is inspiring politicians these days. Hip-hop inspires so many different people from different walks of life who draw from it and helps them to come up with different ideas in their daily walks of life, to come up with their solutions that, it's the embodiment of creativity. I mean, that's why you hear so many hip-hop lyrics that get quoted in Congress now. You hear hip-hop lyrics get quoted in classrooms. Hip-hop education is in so many classrooms now. They're using it as a way to keep kids engaged in the subjects that they're learning, from different sciences to mathematics to writing, to obviously creative writing as well. So it's helping to educate. It's helping to create new forms of revenue for people to believe in. It's helping to motivate people to stay healthy. It's just touching so many different areas of life that it's really unparalleled to anything else.
Tell me about when we've talked before. You enlightened me on the different. I guess it's like 5 different things about hip hop. Graffiti art is one. Yeah, share with the audience what those are.
The 5 elements of hip hop are MCing, graffiti, DJing, knowledge of self, and did I leave one out? Oh, and B-boy, excuse me, yeah, B-boy. A lot of people refer to it as breakdancing. So you got MCing, DJing, graffiti, B-boy, and knowledge of self. And all of those 5 elements are still active and influential today, even though it's definitely more the MCing that gets highlighted.
And when the fact that one of the elements of hip hop is knowing thyself is huge, because that is that critical thinking part.
Definitely. I mean, from the various books that hip hop references in the songs to the creation of their own books, that process of knowledge of self is how people come to understand the importance of uplifting others and giving back, and excuse me, and the importance of creating more opportunities for other people as well. All of that is based and stems from knowledge of self and self-love and self-awareness.
And because I don't know what I was just thinking when you were saying that, you were talking about the lyrics. It's like I wonder how many people their first exposure to Machiavelli was from a Tupac song. When he mentioned Machiavelli.
That entire album educated a lot of people through this. It just opens you up to so many different things that you weren't aware of. And that Machiavelli album is definitely a great example of it. Not only was it a great album musically, but just how many people did that inspire to go and look up who Machiavelli was and what he stood for. And the same thing with, you could say, with Nas and Nostradamus. We hip-hop artists, and they reference so many different things in history, in science, in culture and entertainment, that it forces you to find out what exactly you're talking about. Even Jay with his newest album, Magna Carta, Holy Grail. How many people have actually gone and done the research now behind what Magna Carta is? What is the relevance of when he started promoting the album on June 15th, and the dates how they relate as well? I mean, it gets so deep, and we can even go even further with the biblical references and how those are interpreted. I mean, one of the most recent ones I could think of was Rick Ross and Andre 3000 song 16 that they came out with last year. People thought they were talking about just 16 bars in a verse. They were also talking about the verses in the Bible. But there's so much wordplay and different ways and double entendres that you could understand from it and take from it, that it gets lost in people just saying, "Oh, they're just lyrics." No, they're a lot more than just lyrics.
Wow, you just educated me, and that's the thing about critical thinking. And you mentioned it. It's not something you don't get to a destination in your knowledge. You're always, or the desire should be always to learn more, because I hadn't even thought about a lot of that on that level, and I consider myself an intellectual, but it's a different kind of intellectual, and that's why I tell people who really get all comfortable with being smart, that means nothing. That's one thing. It's not the totality of who you are and how do you use your intellect. How are you using it to advance yourself, empower yourself, and it also lends itself to, how people want to, and now I guess that's why I was having that conversation, because now I'm starting to see why you love, because I at that time was when hip-hop, when you were in New York, I was in Chicago, so we were in the house music, so I didn't get that history that you had. I don't have that love for hip-hop that you have, because, we listened to different music around that time, and so it's getting schooled in what that means, and that is so, for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but it brings a different level, a different texture, let's say, to what hip-hop is and what these young people what people are doing when they're in that culture, and really challenging myself to look beyond what I may see on the surface, or I may hear on the surface. I might like the beat, or I might not like the beat. I might not like the lyrics, but why are they saying those lyrics?
Right.
Instead of just having my initial whatever I'm having, it challenges me to now look below that and see, hey, is there something else to this? And I never would have thought of that until this conversation.
It definitely, when it comes to different regions, I tell the story as well. I was born in New York, and I spent my early years there, but I spent a lot of time down in Florida. I went to high school in Florida before I came to Atlanta. And when moving down to Florida from New York, it was a bit of a culture shock. But getting to know different areas of the world and meeting different kinds of people really influenced, to me, how to interact with people, seeing what their backgrounds were, what caused them to have their traditions that they had. You know what I mean? And also, again, moving up to Georgia, so I tell people, all the time, I think everybody should go to some form of college. It's not just to finish, which would be great, which is what the ultimate goal is, but just to interact with other people from other places, just so you can learn from them. Your ideas and your understanding of the world will only expand. That way it'll enable your ideas to grow even more. So instead of you just thinking, I only got a small idea that works around my area, my state, or with my friends, you can start off locally and end up growing globally. So I use that a lot when I'm talking to kids about their ideas and when they're creating songs and when, they're just, writing. I tell them rep local but think global. You can represent your area, your neighborhood, in your lyrics, in your creations, but understand that it has the ability and opportunity to go global at any time.
Wow. Okay. I want to thank you because I've had this has been eye-opening and just because I like the beats, and that's one reason I love house music. It has that beat to it, and some songs I really initially, right away get the meaning, but I can tell you I've never spent the time to. I mean, that's research. That's definitely critical thinking. That's a level of, and I never saw that in hip hop. That's a level of skill of intellectual development that it takes to go back and understand what the Magna Carta is and what does he mean by it. And the fact that people think, oh my God, this is just so interesting because I guess Jay-Z has a reputation of I take one take. I don't need to do all this. I don't know if that's true, but that's what people think. He's just so good. He doesn't. I don't know if he put that reputation out there or not. But the fact that you're telling me about this song, even if he only takes one take, he's done a hell of a lot of research behind it before he could take that one take.
Yeah, a whole lot of reading, a whole lot of schooling. It may be not traditional schooling, but it's definitely a whole lot of reading, a whole lot of talking to other people with those experiences that they draw from. And with the technology, the tradition, when you said traditional education or whatever, that doesn't exist anymore. We've turned the whole education system upside down. This generation is at the edifice of being. I had to freaking go to the card catalog at the library and deal with what I had to deal with. Britannica being in everybody's house.
Man, in your house.
Around for research. Oh man.
Oh my God. And the Dewey Decimal System and all of that mess.
All of that.
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't exist like that anymore. One of the big models that I learned myself and I try to tell other people is you triple your learning, you double your earning. So if you triple the amount of things that you learn and then that you take in and apply, you'll be able to double your earning. So that speaks definitely to the economics and for them making more money as well. So, learn another language, learn another trade, learn another skill, learn how to network. You use those abilities and skills to turn into different ways of bringing in new funds and new opportunities as well. So I tell them, triple your learning, double your earning.
I like that. I'm gonna have to use that. Wow, this has been a very interesting conversation. We're gonna take our last break, and when we come back, I want you to give your 3 tips, and then we'll close out the show.
Wonderful.
New or unknown music artists, we need you for the show. If you'd like your own mini concert, please send a request for information to realtalkforrealteens@gmail.com.
All right. So I've had a very enlightening conversation with Konata, co-founder of Hip Hop Gives Back, about why. And I'm glad I asked these questions. Again, that's my critical thinking and my creativity, because I've interviewed you before, and we've never gotten to this space. So I'm really I'm really happy we had this opportunity to really delve down into why hip hop is so important to you, why you have a love for it, why you started a whole organization around hip hop, and your answers have been most enlightening. So what are the 3 tips you would like to give young people as it relates to critical thinking and creativity?
3 things. One of them is an acronym that I use, and it's called AMP. It stands for what you give your attention to, you'll eventually give your money to. What you give your money to, you give your power to. So it's a way of teaching them to pay attention what they focus on in their lives. You know, if your life is all about video games and watching videos all day and not really doing anything substantial, eventually you're going to give your power to that. And once you give your power to it, that's where your money's going to go as well. So pay attention to what you pay your attention to, because eventually you'll give your money towards that. And once you give your money towards it, that's where you start to give your power towards it. So you want to make sure that whatever you give your attention to, it's going to be something that's going to give you some kind of return of investment other than just slight entertainment. That's one. Another one is what I tell a lot of artists, about picking up the mic. And mic in this case stands for MIC. Stands for manifest, innovate, and create. That's how you stay from being a starving artist or even just a struggling person these days. There's so many opportunities with the internet and balancing the playing field where we didn't have before. As long as you're working on manifesting your own ideas, you're innovating and you're creating, you'll find different ways to make money to support yourself while you pursue your dream of whether it be in the music, film, art world, in worlds where they normally have what they call struggling artists. And then the third one, again, would definitely be the triple your learning, double your earning point that we talked about a short time ago. The more you learn, the more you're going to earn. As corny as it sounds, and maybe cliche as it sounds, because trust me, I'm not a fan of cliches, that's one of the truest ones that I found to be true, and that's why I'm such a strong believer behind it.
Wow. So, again, I want you to just, before we leave, because this, again, has been just a very enlightening conversation, just speak to me again what hip-hop is and why you love it. Just, I want to close on that. And the reason I'm doing this is because hip-hop is such a big, the commercial end of hip-hop is such a big part of these kids' lives, these young people's lives. It's like having a marriage but not having the romance. Oh my God, that was deep.
I understand. That was one of the things. Right? You could apply that in a lot of different areas too.
Exactly.
You use that other than just hip hop as well. You got to use that one again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, man. That was good.
That was good.
Thank God it's recorded.
That's right. Yes. But the best way I could explain hip hop is a way of reaching people. Other than just the money, other than just the opportunity, it's just a way to reach people, to inspire them, to help them cope through difficult situations, to find new ways to uplift others. That's what hip-hop means to me, even in its present-day form, even with some of the abrasive lyrics. Somebody's being motivated in a positive way by a lot of those lyrics. Not all of them, definitely not all of them at all. But, with everything there's good, there's going to be some that's the opposite of it as well. So understand that the opportunity that hip-hop creates to educate people, to have them to understand and to find a common ground, it can start in the music and in the culture, and it could go so many other places from there. So I just want people to recognize the ability and opportunity we have with the hip-hop culture and a way of utilizing it to grow and progress as a people and also to move the culture forward.
And on that note, we'll say good night. That was just wonderful. Thank you very much, Konata, for giving me your time, giving my audience your time and your knowledge.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
The Real Talk for Real Teens community is the premier membership organization for young professionals. Real Talk for Real Teens community provides the most comprehensive resources and education designed to advance the skills, integrity, and value of its members as professionals. Become a member at www.rtfrtc.com. Thank you for listening, and join us every Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for more Real Talk for Real Teens.